Hi, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this program is called Bruce on the Loose, and enables me to go ahead and talk to a lot of people throughout the Wadsworth area to highlight their particular program. And today, we're very pleased on this show to have Mr. Sam Zulia. He's the head speech and debate coach here at Wadsworth High School. And Sam, thanks very much for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
Thank you for having me.
What about your background in speech and debate, Sam?
I was on the high school team here at Wadsworth during my time at the high school, and I decided that I would go ahead and help out after I graduated. I went to the University of Akron, and I was competing for them, and just decided to stay with Vicki Matthews, who became the head coach after Joe Gaines, and I really enjoyed it. So I stayed with it, and over time really got to know the kids, got to know the administrators in the school, again, outside of being a student, and just decided to stay and continue on to give back as an alumni and as a coach to other students at Wadsworth.
So how long has it been since you've been the head coach here?
Head coach now 6 years.
Wow.
And I've been involved in speech and debate for now 17 years.
Okay, what about the number of students? I know that probably has changed over the years.
It has.
How many students do we have currently in speech and debate?
Currently we have 30 that are actively competing week after week, which is a healthy number for a school our size. But the team ranges from year to year, so it might range from 30 students up to 60 students we've had. Not all of them are competing perhaps at the same time, but 30 is a very healthy number for a program, and that number competing week over week, which is great.
And how is that ratio with girls and boys?
We are more of a female-dominant team in a lot of cases, but we do have a fair balance between the events and between males and females.
All right, could you go ahead and break down a few of the categories for us so people kind of get a flavor for what some of our students are involved in?
Most definitely. We have a number of different events. The Ohio Speech and Debate Association and the National Speech and Debate Association offer over 10 events that students can be involved in. And there's areas of public speaking, competitive acting, and then also competitive debate. And with that competitive acting, they can be humorous, they can be dramatic, or they can be with a partner. And they pick a selection or a play, short story, and they cut it, as they say, or they time it into about a 10-minute piece, 9 to 10-minute piece, and they present that as a competitive presentation or a competitive scene. Then there's also the public speaking aspect where they can write their own speech, which is something like original oratory or declamation, where they might use someone else's words and they might present them. And also there's limited prep, which they can get a question and then they do an answer. And that answer might be either United States based, where it's going to be a question about how it affects the United States, or they have a category called international extent, where it's how the United States might interact with foreign countries or foreign politics. And then of course there's debate, which a lot of people, when they think of speech and debate, they think of debate. They think of two people going head to head, fighting it out with their words. And there's a number of different events that are there as well. There's Lincoln Douglas, which is what people think about classically, where it's one person going head to head, debating a topic. And then there are partner events as well, like policy debate and also public forum debate, which is a similar style, but it's a partner event. So we offer a number of different ones, and Wadsworth offers all of them. Some teams are more specialized, where maybe they only do interp, or they specialize in only debate as being involved in the activity, but we choose to offer all of them to our students.
Who are some of the coaches that also help, besides yourself, with the success of the program?
I'm the primary coach as the head coach, and then we also have Catherine Dannemiller, which she's been with the team now for about 3 to 4 seasons. And then also we have Seth Freed, who is one of the debate coaches here at Wadsworth.
How do the students prepare? You talked about cutting and limiting their presentation. To me, 9 or 10 minutes is a long time.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's certainly a lot of pressure on them to perfect this. So I would think that a lot of preparation time in giving this presentation.
Yeah. So they meet over the summer sometimes, or they're meeting in the early part of the fall. So when they come back from school, if they haven't met with a coach over the summer to start preparing, what they'll do is those first couple weeks when they come back to school, when we're formalizing the team, holding auditions, adding kids, new kids to the team, what we're doing as coaches is we're working with our varsity members or our veteran members, getting them started, and we'll read plays together, or we'll look at movie scripts, or think of ideas about writing, or practice debating, or looking at past topics and using those as speaking drills. And then we start getting together any type of ideas that we're going to want to formalize come getting ready for the season. So we have about a month and a half, 2 months to get ready. But ongoing throughout the season, each student works at least a half an hour, if not an hour, every week with a coach. They're encouraged to do more outside of working with the actual coach, but they're required to do at least a half an hour to an hour. And they sign up in a they sign up like on a sheet where they can do anytime they want. So when a coach is there, I'm particularly there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm there typically from 3 to 8:30 at night. So if a student is involved in another sport or they're involved in another activity at Wadsworth, it's not like other activities where it's, okay, the basketball team meets maybe at this time, or the swim team meets at this time, or the band meets at this time. With speech and debate, you can actually schedule around your schedule. So it makes it pretty flexible, which is really nice. So students can say, maybe I have dance until 7 o'clock. I can go maybe straight from dance to speech and debate, or I can go to speech and debate and then go to dance right afterwards, or they can balance their time.
It's interesting about your flexibility. Mm-hmm. It basically tells me that you really are out for the students' best interest, and if they can work it in, that's fine, and that makes your team even stronger as a result.
Definitely. We have a wide blend of students on the team. We don't have just students that are only devoted to speech and debate. While we love people's dedication to the activity, we have a lot of people that are in band and in sports and student council and huddle, all kinds of other organizations, golf, that are out in the community, that are out doing other activities to help make them a well-rounded student at Wadsworth. And that's the fortunate thing about the administration and the school system, is that they have so many programs to offer. And for us, it's making students the easiest way to get them in, keep them competing, keep them practicing, and really get them ready for the season to be competitive.
What about some of your veteran performers, some people that have been in, maybe juniors or seniors? Do they help mentor some of the younger students, especially maybe in their category?
They do, most definitely. What can be kind of overwhelming is when a student goes to a tournament for the first time. So when we're taking maybe 20 new students to a tournament, it's hard for me as a coach to say, okay, here's how to fill out your ballot to give to the judge, here's how to find your room, here's how to find your schematic. So we rely a lot on veterans to help take a student, maybe here's how to fill out your ballot, I'll walk with you to your room, I'll make sure that you get going. And in those early tournaments, a lot of coaches and tournaments try to encourage that there are a lot of veteran students helping freshmen or helping just new people that are coming into the activity.
So when does the actual season begin, and when does it culminate?
We have a really long season.
Okay.
We start at the end of August with practices, encouraging kids to come out for the team. We actually start competing in the middle of October, and then we compete all the way until the beginning of March. And in the end of February is our national qualifying tournament, and then in March is the state tournament, and then our national tournament isn't until June. So we have a pretty long season. So if we qualify a student in February, we'll maintain a coach-student relationship all the way with coaching and looking at how we can make those pieces better, or how we can be practicing with debate, all the way until June when we go to the national tournament.
So, in other words, students that would qualify, they could go to the district tournament, and then if they do well, then they could go to the state and possibly national.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that would certainly have we had people national qualifiers in the last several years?
Most definitely. Wadsworth is fortunate enough that we've had typically 2 to 3 national qualifiers every year. In most recent years, but we do average a national qualifier just about every year at least, in some type of event that carries on and represents Wadsworth, represents Ohio and the district. We're very successful throughout the state as well. We've had multiple state finalists. We have a lot of national state qualifiers that we take to the state tournament year over year, which we're very excited about. And those kids do typically very well at states, and then also very well at the district tournament that represent Wadsworth in the district.
I would imagine Mrs. Matthews, since you mentioned her, and Mr. Gaines are smiling
Yes.
when they hear the results with students doing well at the state level and
definitely.
qualifying for the national. That the tradition then would continue with speech and debate.
Yes.
And what about some of the schools in Medina County or in the area that you typically see on a Saturday?
Within Medina County, we have schools like Copley, Norton, Barberton, and then Highland is a very competitive team as well. And then even outside of there, a lot of our district is comprised as well of, we have Worcester High School, which is neighboring to us as well. And then we're combined as the Akron-Canton district to be the Eastern Ohio district. And that district has a lot of schools from Canton. So you have Hoover High School, Perry High School, Glen Oak, multiple ones all within going down into Tuscarawas County and beyond that comprise the Eastern Ohio district. And both the Akron and the Canton district are strong individually, but when we come together as the Eastern Ohio district, on the national level, we're ranked as a district as the 8th most competitive district in the United States. And so that's looking at very competitive states like Minnesota, Texas, and California. We're very competitive with our kids. So sometimes when our kids say, gosh, it's really hard to place or it's really hard to qualify to the national tournament, we always try to remind them that you're competing in one of the hardest districts in the nation for that spot to go to nationals. Just because as the country is laid out, speech and debate is more prominent at other high schools or other districts than it is here in Ohio, more or less. But in Ohio, most definitely in the Eastern Ohio district, we're very competitive. So we want to send the best of the best to the national tournament. That's
interesting to note, and I was unaware that Ohio ranks that high, and especially our particular area.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So how is it determined where tournaments are held, and maybe speak a little bit in detail? I guess Wadsworth, we hosted one last weekend.
Yes, we did. Tournament hosts, they choose to host a tournament. So they look at taking on the actual tournament responsibilities because there's a lot that goes into it. And sometimes if you don't have either the support staff or the parent help or community help, it's very difficult to actually host the tournament because there are some costs that go into it, like food, the program that actually runs the results, things of that nature. But a coach decides to run a tournament, and for us, thankfully, we have a great building. We've always hosted a tournament as long as I can remember, whether it was in the old high school or the new high school. But we use typically our main building, and then we also use the middle school for our tournament. And we host around 700 students each year. That number has fluctuated a little bit. Sometimes we've hosted 6. We've gone up as far as 1,000 students that have been in the building at one time, which is fantastic. And that's a lot of students competing because a typical tournament will sometimes average between 300 to 600 students. So to reach up into the 600s and 700s, we're kind of above the average maybe of a regular tournament. And then there's also parent judges. There's judges that alumni that are coming back with those teams to help be judges. So that's on top of then another typically about 150 to 200 adults that are going to be also in the building. So this past weekend we hosted around 900 to maybe 1,000 people total.
Yeah,
which is great.
A lot of buses. I kind of
yes,
walked by in the morning and saw lots and lots of buses,
and
that certainly is coordinating all that. It certainly is a lot more than people realize from the outset, and certainly
most definitely.
Congratulations for pulling it off. And how did our team do last weekend?
The team did very well. We placed second in our grouping, and then we had a couple students from Wadsworth place in the top 6 in their various events. So it was a very successful weekend. Kids had a good time, and kids had some good scores, some really great feedback. And we got really great feedback about our tournament as well, just that it was run really smooth. And that was mostly to the help of the students and parents that helped run concessions and also helped set up the building and really make sure that people were able to come in, do what they needed to do competitive-wise, because that's what they're focusing on, and then go to awards and make it out on the other end. So that was really important for us, that when people come to our building, they have a good time and that they actually get to enjoy what they really love to do, and that's really important for us.
The award ceremony is a special event, isn't it? Where people are. I'm sure the competitors are on pins and needles, and I didn't do very well.
Yeah.
And suddenly, their name is called for an award, and I would imagine that's about the only opportunity for parents to come in and see how their children have done as well.
Yeah, for a lot of the parents that are helping or that choose to be involved, they're judging, and so they're judging other people's kids or they're judging other rounds, and they're not necessarily seeing their child compete. Except for when they go up on stage, if they're lucky enough to be in that top 6. That might be the only time that they actually get to see them, unless their parents are encouraging their students to present their cutting or present their piece or speech in front of them. Sometimes parents aren't able to actually see their kids compete, except for at that awards ceremony time.
Sam, what type of skills do you feel that students glean from being involved in speech and debate?
I think they learn a lot of organization skills, presentation skills, and also how to research and become responsible for their words and their actions. In speech and debate, you have to choose what words you're using to convey a message. So whether it's in debate or public speaking or acting, you're crafting a message. And we find that a lot of our students learn how to craft that message to what they want to present to people. And we find that to be really important, especially now when we might all be on like an overload of sending out text messages and social media and what have you. Your message matters. And so we want students to know that they have a voice and how to present that in a way that gets other people's attention, but also makes them want to listen and make a difference.
These are lifelong skills that they have acquired, and
Most
they
definitely.
can use more than just to get through a speech and debate tournament.
Oh yeah, we've had a lot of students go on to be lawyers, to be doctors, to be business leaders, and it's really great that sometimes I get a phone call from someone that says, I had to go in and do my doctoral review, or I had to go out and give this speech, and if I didn't have these skills, I wouldn't know how to present myself, because a lot of it is also as presentation, and it's how you dress, it's how you look, it's how you convey the message. And so for a student to be able to stand still, as some of them are going off to be doctors, and they're these really smart students are going off to be lawyers, they still have to give that maybe final presentation, or they have to do that interview, and some people get really nervous. And so being able to perform, knowing how to handle yourself is just a skill that not a lot of people have learned and been able to craft. And so to use that is really important.
The students do need to dress up.
Definitely.
I have occasionally come by when you're getting on, and the boys in shirt and tie, or now bow ties
Exactly.
have come back into vogue,
They have.
and the girls' dresses and looking very nice. And that isn't always the way it is during the regular school day.
Exactly. We sometimes joke that we're seeing students in practice that are in sweatpants or jeans and t-shirts, and then they're going into competitive rounds in shirt and ties. They're going in skirt suits or pantsuits, and it's a very dressed up look. It's a business look, so it's not necessarily like a formal, like a winter formal homecoming type dance, outfit, tuxedo. Right. But they're going to be wearing skirt suits or pantsuits. A lot of the girls in high heels. Their hair is done. Same thing with the guys. Typically, their hair is done. They're shaved. They're ready to go with their collars and their ties.
How is the speech and debate program financed?
It's partly through the school. They take on helping us with transportation, coaching, and then also our entries. And then we do several fundraisers throughout the year. We have our hosted tournament, which students pay or teams pay to be part of. And then also we have Blooming Acres, which is one of our biggest fundraisers throughout the year. We sell gift cards. And then we have several other business sponsors throughout the year, and collecting loose change. We've done pie sales. We've done all kinds of things to help raise money, and that goes towards helping support the actual finances that were provided. We're very, again, fortunate, I say, to have a school system and to be operating in a school system that does support us and does see the educational value in speech and debate. There's some schools that don't necessarily have the skills or the means to be able to do that, and so I remind the kids all the time, and I keep it in myself as well, that and be reminded that we are able to go out and compete and have buses to get us to places, and we have coaches that can help the kids and really provide the support to be a competitive activity.
Sam, could you possibly, since maybe you could consider myself a new debater or someone in speech category, could you take us through a round? Sure. What would happen and how the judge is involved, and just take us through a typical round if you could.
So if it's an interpretation round, which would be the competitive acting or the competitive speaking, a student's given a contestant number, and so that contestant number is going to change week over week. So when we go to a tournament, I might be contestant 462 on one Saturday, and I might be 416 the next Saturday. But I'm given my contestant number, and I fill out my ballot. So I fill out that I'm in drama, this is my cutting selection, and then I fill out my name. And then what happens is there's a computer system that then generates the schematics. And it's all going to be at random. So I might see in round one students from Perry, Hoover, Norton, Worcester, Wadsworth, and Highland. So there's typically 6 in a round. Sometimes there's rounds of 5, but usually it's a round of 6 is about the standard of what they look at. They try to do that because that's about an hour. With students presenting between 9 and 10 minutes, they try to limit the round to about an hour. When you get into 7 competitors or 8 competitors, the round gets really long, and the judge might start not necessarily to lose interest, but it becomes a little overwhelming now, try to decipher 7 or 8 speeches and who's the best in the round versus who's the lowest in the round. But the computer will generate who's going to hit who. You might see multiple people in the same day that you've seen in other rounds, but typically it tries to scatter them out, so that way it's creating good competition by you seeing maybe someone in round 1, and then you're going to see some different people in rounds 2, 3, 4. And what you'll do is you'll go to the round, and then you wait outside your room. Your judge comes in, and the judge is also picked at random, and the computer picks it. They're given their master ballot, and then you give your judge your competitor ballot, and you go into the round, and there's going to be a speaking order. So maybe in round 1 I speak 2nd, maybe in round 2 I speak 6th, then in round 3 I speak 4th. It's all going to be at random, and then what's going to happen is they hand the ballot to the judge, and then the judge starts the round. And then each person will speak in the order in which the computer laid out. Typically it doesn't divert from that. The judge is instructed to go through the round to present fairness in the order of how they're speaking, and they're going to present individually. So the people in that round are going to watch all the other competitors. So if you're in a round of 6, you're one of those presentations, you're going to be watching 5 presentations. The judge is typically going to be taking notes. We always tell kids, their job is to take notes. It's to give you feedback, because you want to know maybe why you won the round or maybe why you lost the round. And that's really important in debate, especially, because in some of those debates, it's one-on-one. And so you want to know, why did your competitor beat you versus why your arguments maybe weren't as strong to win the round. And what will happen is that judge will then rank the round from 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then they turn all of those papers in, and then it gets tabulated. It's tabulated round by round, and so when you're competing in an event such as program oral interpretation, this past weekend there were over 70 kids in the event. There's no possible way that you as an individual student can see all 70 to say that you're competitive with all 70 of them. Right. That would be a really long day. And so what happens is you only see roughly between 20, 24, maybe up to 30 kids throughout the day of that group of 70.
Sure.
So some of those kids that you might see on stage, you might say, oh, I didn't see her, or I didn't see him today competing, because you're only seeing, again, between 20, 25, 30 kids throughout the day. But those results then are all tabulated. And so the objective is to win your rounds or to do very high in your rounds. So that's to earn 1s, 2s, and 3s in your round. And then again, those are all tabulated at the end. And the ones with the lowest tabulation are your best speakers of the day.
Usually have 3 or 4 rounds? Okay.
So yeah, typical tournaments between 3 to 4 rounds, because students are earning points towards, they have merit degrees that are offered from the National Speech and Debate Association. And so students are earning degrees or seals based on how well they speak in rounds. And those also put out national rankings.
Well, Sam, I really learned a great deal today about speech and debate, and again, it's something that my daughters were involved in, and they thought it was an excellent program. But when you're a minister and an attorney, it does help with that background.
Most
that
absolutely.
certainly did show. Thank you for viewing Bruce on the Loose, and we'll have a very exciting guest next time. Thank you.